Everybody, and welcome to the last angel card reading video for 2018, the week of the 24th of December through to the 30th of December. I mean, technically the next week's one will start on the 31st December, but I'm calling this the last full one of the year. So let's start shuffling the cards without further ado. Big week for many of you. Peer pressure, I love it, this has come up. So when I was in high school, there was a peer support program, I should say, where the older students would mentor us, I guess, the newbies, about, I guess the idea was to help you feel like you had enough support and that you could be yourself, etc., blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I do associate peer pressure with being a high school thing, but actually it's not. Just look at Instagram. There is a lot of subtle pressure to be conforming to a certain way of life, to look beautiful all the time, to be thin. That's a massive one. That's not just social media either, obviously. To have the perfect house, to have the perfect body, to have the perfect looking relationship and the perfect children, blah, blah, blah. So there's a lot of pressure to be conforming to those kind of ideals. There's also a lot of pressure to be happy, and I've spoken about this on my social media as well. My aim is to keep it real. I try not to reinforce any unhelpful ideas, but the happiness movement is, there are certain sectors of it that are focused on teaching us to be happy all the time, and as I've mentioned before, that's not even remotely achievable, and nor should it be. So look at where you're at right now and whether you are being overtly or covertly influenced by other people. You might not necessarily have other people literally saying to you, you need to buy a house in this area, or you need to send your kids to this school, or whatever. It might be a subtle undertone of an expectation about what you should do, whether you should be working, whether you should not be, whether you should be, ambitious, whether you should, etc. I probably don't need to spell that one out for you guys. What I'm saying is, be aware of whether you're trying to inadvertently follow someone else's script for your life. You must march to the beat of your own drum and follow what is right for you. And for those of you who are considering some big life changes, make sure that the reason for your hesitation is not what will people think of me, because that is the biggest trap. It keeps us so stuck worrying about what people think of us. Nobody goes to their grave and thinks, thank God everybody liked me. A lot of people will say, I have no evidence for this, but my theory is a lot of people will go, I wish I'd done more of what I wanted to do instead of what I was expected to do. Helen Mirren, the legendary actress, said that when she looks back on her life, she wishes she'd said the F word a bit more often. And that's, I guess, what she's saying is that she went along with things that weren't right for her instead of telling people where to go. And you don't need to swear at people, obviously. It's not what this card is about, but make sure that you're not letting other people... you're not getting buoyed along in the tide of other people's lives, that you're not letting fear of what other people think or even letting them overtly influence you. Yeah, I guess I've probably covered that enough. Let's go to Tuesday now. I think the reason I started sort of going, oh, this is so appropriate when that card came up, by the way, is because for those of you living in Western countries, Christmas is a time when some people do fall into the trap of trying to have the perfect Christmas, and certainly of trying to get people the perfect present. And I can tell you that I'm not someone who's very materialistic, so I've tried many, many times to enforce a rule in our house of no presents. It hasn't taken on because so many people in my family are tied to the idea of tradition for the sake of tradition. I'm so opposed to that. If something's not meaningful, I don't get the point of it. And my whole thing is, I get there is significance around the giving of gifts, but I find that so often we're just giving for this because it's expected of us. We're not even necessarily thinking about what that person really needs, because what people really need most is a hug and some time off. They probably don't need another candle, although I do love a good candle. Who am I kidding? The point is, there's that sense of obligation and that sense of, oh, well, what will they think of me if I give them something that's obviously from a discount chain, or, anything like that. So it is a time, certainly, we can be sucked into worrying about social expectations or pressure, be feeling pressure, and don't be doing that. It's not easy, I know, but you will regret it if you don't, I suspect. I guess I'm not, sorry, I don't mean to diminish the value of Christmas. I'm just saying it often ends up being a very commercial enterprise that's lost its significance. And yeah, that's why I'm opposed to the giving of gifts, because I don't really need gifts. I would just like to spend time with people that I care about. So Tuesday, Isis past life. So I'm all about past lives. I love it. I'm a Scorpio. A Scorpio is a sign of regeneration. And of course, if you want to regenerate, to rise from the ashes, you will need to confront the parts of yourself that you do not, your shadow side, the parts of yourself that are not very comfortable and are painful. And this card does suggest that often, or remind us that often our wounds, our struggles, our pain are connected to events from the past life. So I know not everybody is on board with reincarnation. If you're from an Indian background or ancestry, you will probably get this straight away. If you're not, I know it sounds a little bit out there, but a lot of spiritual people really hold on to this, and I'm obviously one of them, that we bring through every time that we reincarnate multiple times. And each time we're going to be bringing through energy from experiences where we didn't get closure, or where there was a lesson to learn that we didn't learn. And so one area where this shows up all the time is relationships. Often we feel drawn to people because we have known them in a past life. It doesn't mean we're supposed to be with them necessarily, but it might mean we've got some unfinished business. Perhaps we treated them badly, and this is the time where we learn to treat them with respect. Or, I don't know, it's really hard to know what the actual lesson is, but if you can understand that there are past life influences affecting your choices, it might help you get closure more easily, or to move on. If you keep repeating a pattern and you can't explain why you keep doing that, it might be that there's a past life event at play. This is a really weird card to get on a day that's essentially, if you think about Christmas Day, the idea is of, it's not really about, well, I suppose it is about regeneration in a way, or renewal. So if you're not down with reincarnation, and I totally get it, I don't want to be forcing this idea on anyone who's not down with it, but think about your past in this lifetime, your childhood. Where are there things from the past that you need closure on, that you are still holding on to, things that are still hurting you? And sometimes we have events in our past that we think, oh, I don't even really think about that. But if you really do give it some thought, you will be aware that there are ways it's showing up in your life now. And this is an example I give all the time when I'm trying to explain energy healing to people, because it is hard to explain. If you're a straight woman whose father walked out on you and the family when you were very young, even though you might have been too young to have really felt the pain of that, you may have taken on a belief that all men leave me. And so you go on to form romantic relationships in your adult life with men who go on to leave you, because it affirms a belief that you hold. Or perhaps you keep walking away from them when they start to get close. You want to be the one who leaves because you believe that ultimately that's what's going to happen. So you want to be in control. So what I'm trying to say, I don't know if I'm doing this very well, but I'm trying to say that if there are events from the past that we keep repeating, if there is energy trapped there, it's what draws us to certain things. Perhaps we had past lives around poverty, or we had poverty in our own childhood in this lifetime, or the fear of it, and that is playing out now in the way that we keep holding on to jobs that we really, really hate but pay really, really well, and we find it's too scary to walk away from them. So that's another example. Essentially, if I can boil this right down, the card is asking you to look at the ways the past is affecting your present. And if that past life stuff is too out there for you, I get that. Look at your past in this lifetime. Okay, now if you do need someone to help you with that, a past life regression therapist could be really good. I always recommend people go to someone trained in Dolores Cannon or Brian Weiss's technique. You really want to get a good one, a really good therapist with that, because past life is something that not everybody is good at. But if you don't want to do that, and there's a lot of ways that past lives have shown up for me and I still don't really understand how, energy healing just clears the energy from past lives without you having to go down that track of actually remembering it, which can be really hard for people who aren't easily able to let go of the control of their minds. To let their minds wander back into those past events can be really hard for some people. So energy healing can just dispel, once you look at what's going on, so the lesson is learned, you can clear that past energy so it's no longer adversely affecting your choices now. Wednesday, forgiveness. Now, in a not very smooth segue, let me say that sometimes the reasons that we're holding on to grudges or resentments is because they are connected to our own wounding. And in that example I gave of the father who walks out, the woman could be holding on to that grudge even though she doesn't feel angry because she understands the father's motivations or whatever. There might be, if not forgiveness, some healing or closure. I call this really the closure card because forgiveness sounds too hard for a lot of people, and it also sounds like it relates to a conflict, and that's not necessarily the case. And it's not necessarily a grievance where someone has done something to you. It could be just the general kind of hurt that happened in your life. So I know I say this all the time, but forgiving someone does not mean you are condoning the choices that they made. You can forgive them, and it doesn't involve them at all. It's just about you finding peace. It's about you letting go of the pain. And that ties in quite nicely with this card here. So we've got this theme emerging of letting go of past hurts, or any hurts really. And as I say, sometimes people aren't aware of how those are showing up in their lives. It really does take some self-reflection. And what I always tell people to do is look for patterns. Is there a pattern of you sabotaging yourself? Is there a pattern of people walking away from you? Is there a pattern of you attracting relationships with the same type of person, someone who's always still in love with their ex or even still in a relationship? Is there a pattern of you going for jobs where you get made redundant? Or is there a pattern of you going for jobs where you're treated badly by the boss? Blah, blah, blah. You get it. Patterns are really significant because that's how they're showing up where there's work to be done. Thursday, much lighter card here, sweetness. Give yourself some sweetness today. It does not relate to sugar, sorry. It is more about the joy in daily life that you have probably forgotten about because you're too busy running around getting stuff done. So, which is a trap all of us fall into. There's so many moments of joy in our lives, that our day-to-day lives, that we say no to because we're too busy thinking about the next thing or too stuck in our worry zone. And this urges the need to make this a priority. When someone receives a terminal diagnosis, they're not wishing they'd spent more days in the boardroom or worrying about all the work they didn't get finished. They are likely, we know this from Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's writing, they are likely reflecting on the chances that they were too busy to stop and smell the roses, to make it a really cheesy saying. But the moments we failed to appreciate the beauty and to really celebrate the good things, we move on too quickly to the next thing, and we don't take time to celebrate what is wonderful in our lives. And there's so much beauty in our lives. Yeah, I think that's probably all I need to say about that one. Where do I go next? So we're on Friday now. Last Friday of 2018. Oh, use your imagination and you'll see the answers. So imagination is something we dismiss as being a flight of fancy and not really that helpful, but your imagination can be a source of divine inspiration. If you think about creatives, musicians, artists and the like, it's their imagination that gives them their best ideas. And where do those ideas come from? Upstairs. It's the divine working through you, and you bringing those ideas to life is how you are in a conversation, an active conversation with the divine. So this card is asking you not to dismiss what your imagination is, where your imagination is going. Often, if you're a daydreamer, it might be that what you are daydreaming about is indicating where there's a deficit in your life, which sounds a bit kind of, I guess, reductive, but where something's missing, where you need to do some attention. It's not mean if you're dreaming of, you know, being rich, it doesn't mean that obviously you need to be rich in order to be happy. It's just saying that you're missing a sense of security, and how else can you look at getting that? Because winning the lottery is not a good goal, not a realistic goal. Sorry. Use your imagination, you'll see the answer. When we kind of tune into that more ethereal kind of zone, we're giving space, giving latitude to the universe to bring through some ideas. And even if they are, try not to take them too literally, even if they're not practical, etc., there might be the seed of something really good within that you can use. And again, look for themes. Your dreams also can be a great source of giving you some solutions. I think we're on to Sunday now. I have no idea if that made any sense. There's nothing to worry about. What a fantastic way to end the week. The things you were worried about are probably not going to happen, very likely not going to happen. Do not spend time worrying about them, thinking that that will help you prevent them. Sometimes we spend our lives in emergency response mode, thinking if I just preempt the next thing, I'll be safe and then I'll feel good, and that just doesn't work, because we can then attract what we don't want, or we just keep ourselves out of the present moment and not enjoying the sweetness. Wasn't that a smooth segue? So there's nothing to worry about. It's telling you to draw your attention to where your mind is going today. Is this a real fear? If it is there some work to be done here that I need to look at? Or is it just my mind spinning out of control, or wigging, as Americans say? What the universe is trying to tell you here is to come back to a place of peace. That's the peace that's already within you, buried under all those layers of stress and worry. It's there. You just need to sit in that and let the stuff fall away. Can't necessarily stay in that place. It's normal to worry, but you need to make sure you're not buying into those thoughts, because once you get on board that worry train, you're going way ahead and it's very hard to get off. So you can get off, but you need to make it just gives rise to more and more things to worry about and to be afraid of, and that's obviously not super helpful for anyone. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Oh my goodness, I've missed the day. That is not okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that was Saturday's card, not Sunday. Let's do one more. I haven't counted this very well. Oh, that is not a good note to end on Sunday. 7 days in the week. Okay, this actually does roll on beautifully. God box. The God box is an exercise to help you manage your worry, particularly if you struggle to sleep. So the exercise is, imagine that an angel is in front of you holding a box, and visualize yourself putting all the things that you were worried about one by one into that box, and then visualize the angel taking that up to heaven. It's a way of shifting the burden off you and giving it back up, transmuting it up to heaven, because it doesn't serve you to hold on to those things that you're worried about. You don't solve them, you don't fix them, you just keep yourself stuck. Let them go, leave it with heaven, and you'll find you're giving space for those solutions to come through. So essentially this card is asking you to find a way to let go of your worries. So obviously some real stress energy is coming in at the end of the year for many of you. It doesn't have to be that God box exercise. That's just an example that this particular card is tailored around, but some way of managing your worry and really getting on top of that as much as you can. Obviously that's an ongoing exercise that will probably take the rest of our lives. Certainly it will for me, but the more we're aware of it, the more we commit to it, the more progress we make. So controlling worry is a big theme for the week, and I guess looking at ways to be more present, because we had that card around the sweetness. What else have we got here? I think healing from the past as well is very prominent. That's it for the week. Thank you very much for watching. Enjoy your last full week of 2018. I will be back reading for you next week. I'm going to probably mix up the format a little bit more next year, make it a bit more interactive. I'm not quite sure how that's going to play out, but I will let you know. And in the meantime, you can look out for each card each day on my Instagram at One Grounded Angel, and of course on my Facebook page, One Grounded Angel. You can access my Facebook without being on Facebook, by the way. I know lots of people are not on Facebook. Just type in facebook.com/One Grounded Angel, and you can see it. It's not a private profile, not a private page. And you can reach me for personal bookings, which I know a lot of you are keen to do about this time of year when you're doing a life review kind of process for the year. And you can do that on www.onegroundedangel.com and head to the bookings form. I will be working around this time, and not too much, but doing the odd reading and energy healing. But if not, I've got some vacancies in January as well, but I know it will get busy. Thank you very much. Have an amazing week, and I look forward to reading for you again next week, next year. Take care.